You're watching WFWA, PBS, Fort Wayne.
Funding for Coming by Air has been provided by one of the nation's leading insurance and investment management companies, Lincoln National Corporation. Indiana's largest corporation proudly salutes the excellence of Fort Wayne Public Television. And GTE, providers of telecommunication products and services.
After 1460, roger, turn left at 8340, maintain 2,600. Vector violation, lane 5, final approach course.
The efficiency of the air services in the airport are absolutely mandatory in order to be able to provide this kind of service to the community.
We ended up flying quite a few charters that day to get enough material down here to keep our line running and to keep our production going.
For over 50 years, Americans have come to depend on aviation as a way of life. Fort Wayne is no different. Aviation is essential to a vibrant, growing economy, but it's much more than a launch pad for commerce.
1468, maintain 2,600.
Pressure 2600, 1468.
9512, contact Chicago Center 119.85. Hold on. 85,
Hello, I'm Chris Schenkel with a close-up look at this exciting industry right here in our own community. Now, as you'll see, aviation moves our city. It brings excitement and the best and the brightest of other worlds right to your hometown, and it can even move hearts to save lives. Shortly before this medical team climbed on board, a donor was located for a patient badly in need of a heart transplant. On this day, Dr. Michael Schatzline and his team must move quickly to harvest the donated heart and return it for transplant. While Dr. Joe Ladowski prepares for surgery in Fort Wayne. When an organ donor is identified, timing is crucial. Dr. Ladowski explains.
The time element of getting the whole thing done is absolutely critical. Once we find out that there's a donor heart available which might match up with one of our potential recipients, the donor team, consisting of an anesthesiologist, surgical technicians, and a surgeon, will fly out from Bear Field to wherever the donor is.
Just about 30 minutes.
Thank you.
The ground transportation then proceeds, usually by ambulance, to the hospital, and the donor team has an opportunity to evaluate the heart. Then the phone calls begin, and we coordinate the timing of taking out the heart so that we can figure out how long it'll take us to get back and have the recipient absolutely ready and on the heart-lung machine with his or her chest open and the heart ready to come out.
Flight guard 67 Mike Alpha Saginaw clearance cleared to the Fort Wayne Airport as filed. Maintain 3000. Flight level 22010 minutes after departure. Departure frequency 126.45. Squawk 2511.
Lifeguard 67 Mike Alpha cleared to Fort Wayne as filed. Maintain 3220 and 10 2645 2511.
Lifeguard 67 Mike Alpha, read that correct.
We use the call sign Lifeguard. That just gives us priority as far as air traffic control. They'll usually give us direct routing and any altitude we'd request, much the same as they would do for Air Force One.
Because the time that the heart is out of the body is so critical, and we need to keep that as short as possible, we need to be moving fast. These are very tenuous hearts. They're not good enough to maintain life for much longer. It has to proceed like clockwork. It does proceed like clockwork, and the air services have been absolutely critical in allowing that to proceed like clockwork. One of about 30 centers in the country that are approved by Medicare to do heart transplants in Medicare patients. What that means is that the government has looked at our results and looked at our team and looked at how many we've done, and has said that this is one of the institutions that has our stamp of approval for doing our Medicare patients. The act of transplantation has been sort of a magical wand that people have kept in the back of their minds as some sort of wizardry. And really what it has been, rather than one person intervening in another's life, has been a gradual process of improvement at surgical techniques. We've accumulated enough technological advances that we can now perform heart transplantation with a good expectation of success. The medical community, however, is absolutely dependent upon the non-medical community in order to be able to accomplish this. The Fort Wayne Police Service and the ambulance services, who provide for our ground transportation.
Order 14 to base. Yes, sir. Heart's on the way to the hospital.
And of course, we can't transport the heart across great distances without the air services. And the efficiency of the air services and the airport are absolutely mandatory in order to be able to provide this kind of service to the community.
Over 80 people have received heart transplants in Fort Wayne. Aviation makes it possible. With each life saved, an entire family is touched. Just ask Bob Klinkenbeard.
I feel great. There's nothing that I can't do. You know, I'm very active. The kids now, are 12, 10, 6, and 3. And so I just do normal family activities, trying to keep up with 4 kids, It's fun.
Today, Bob Klinkenbeard's health is greatly improved. That's good news for his family. The right facilities, medical skills, and aviation services made the difference. Fortunately, most people will never undergo heart surgery. But the airport plays a critical role in numerous other community services. First Lieutenant Leonard Williams belongs to a group of men and women who stand ready to respond to disasters and search and rescue situations. Now they're members of the local squadron of the Civil Air Patrol.
A plane went down in Lake Michigan and was reported missing, had never arrived at its destination. In an instance like that, we will try and determine the route of flight that the pilot would have taken. As in this instance, he didn't file a flight plan, so we have to think that he would have flown the most direct route. So we looked for the airplane. We do flights back and forth across the given area, looking for a sighting. It was confirmed that the airplane did go in the lake. We have three major functions. One is search and rescue and disaster relief, which is our primary function. The second is aerospace education. And the third is orientation of young cadets into the field of aviation.
Most pilots were once excited children with their chins on the airport fence. Then someone who cared took them flying. From that point, the decision about their life's work was set forever.
About 12 years old is when I started this program. It just looked like a very exciting thing and very rewarding. I was promised that I would become a pilot when I first joined, and I wasn't sure of that about 2 years after I got into it. But after being in for about 4 years, it finally came through, and I've earned my solo wings through the program. Primarily, my major interests lie in aviation and military service, and that's why I was very fond of this program.
Stand, hut, and hut. Stand, hold. Let, peace.
Cadets are actually the doers, movers, and shakers of this organization. Thanks to the airport of this size, with all the aviation activity, we teach them everything they need to know to look into, engage in, or pursue an aviation career. We have both hands out, and we're saying, young people, you'll want to fly. If you live by our rules, we'll give you an opportunity to fly. Here, you'll have a chance to learn.
What we try to do is we train cadets or teenagers to be leaders in the community. I love the people a lot. It's like a big family. We're all really close.
It's because of Bear Field. A youth organization starts with utilizing an airport like this and generates a lot of careers. This is the 98% of the kids you don't read or hear about.
America's love affair with cars will last forever. It remains the transportation of choice for business, recreation, and running the household. A roadside breakdown can be a true emergency. At that point, airplane and car come close together. Rapidly moving repair parts from a distant warehouse requires aviation.
You get some worried customers when they need to get their car fast, and we need to expedite the parts. Well, there's been a couple times where we've had customers either on vacation that have stopped by the dealership and the vehicle just would not run for whatever reason. At the start of the vacation, end of the vacation, they're still in a hurry to get on their way. And it's real important for us to get the parts right away for them. Typically, you usually have to get very involved in something like that. It's just not the normal request to order and receive parts. You have to do an availability check, find where the parts are located, and have those parts overnight express air freighted in, and we can have them the next day. Without air service, this just wouldn't be possible.
Jobs make the economy move. Every day, thousands of area workers count on their jobs for their families' well-being. Productivity is the key to profits, which in turn is the key to jobs. General Motors supervisor Tom Matwizik explains how aviation plays a vital role.
Our typical day here starts at 6 o'clock in the morning. Our daily challenge here is to make sure that we build the highest quality truck we possibly can to compete in the marketplace. And then behind that is to make sure that we get them all built on time so we can ship them to the dealerships to get to the market. And then the third objective we've got is to make sure we do it at the most efficient cost. It takes a lot of resources to make that happen. Right now, we're scheduled to produce 832 trucks every day that we run. In October, we're scheduled to go back up to 60 jobs an hour, which will take us up to 960 trucks in one day. We have roughly 3,000 people that'll take to make that 960 trucks. Every minute that this facility is not operating basically means we don't get a truck produced. And what does that mean to General Motors in the marketplace where we're competing with our competitors? If they have the truck on their lot and we're not able to get that Chevrolet or GMC truck out on that lot, what is that costing us in sales and potential profits?
The sophistication of the assembly process is remarkable. If a machine breaks down and the repair part is not locally available, aviation is often needed to get the part here fast.
We have a sister plant in Pontiac, in Oshawa, and another plant starting up in Janesville that are building very similar product to what we're building here. So if our costs at this facility go up, there's a good possibility that our jobs could go to those areas. We had an incident that occurred up in Canada where a group of independent Canadian truckers decided to block all of the bridges and the accesses from Canada to the U.S. We have material that comes from Canada that we use in our product. Over those 2 days, we flew about 12 charters of parts to get enough material down here to keep our line running and to keep our production going so we wouldn't lose jobs. Avoiding downtime is critical to this facility because we need to have our product in the market.
Airports play a role in keeping American productivity up in order to maintain our lifestyle. And it plays an essential role in keeping the nation safe for our lifestyle. The 122nd Tactical Fighter Wing of the Indiana Air National Guard calls Fort Wayne home.
8315, taxi position, hold runway 5. Under hold, make sure. Maintain 4,000, clear for takeoff, runway 5. Just takeoff up to 4,000, H 3145.
The Air National Guard trains just like the regular Air Force, and I think it was borne out in the Desert Storm where there were Air Guard flying units involved, and they flew right along with and were integrated in with the regular Air Force units over there and performed very well. Every mission basically is we train as though it were a real-world mission, and the people take it very serious.
Mission objective is we're a four-ship to Grayling, surface attack, and the objectives are to get 4 aircraft with 80% scoreable bombs, and if we're going to do strafe, we got time to try to do the 25% hit criterion strafe. The Joker I've set at 8.5 and Bingo 8.0.
We are a special capabilities unit with the F-4. We do the laser-guided bombs. In these F-4E models, we have what they call ring laser gyros. That's a laser beam that goes around in a little triangle, and It knows where it's at all the time, and our accuracy is down to within 6 feet. When we go somewhere on an exercise, if it's not a real difficult one, we average roughly 10 personnel per airplane. That's roughly what it takes just to keep the airplanes flying. On a guard drill weekend, such as you see here today, we have in excess of 1,300 personnel assigned to the 122nd Wing here at Fort Wayne. The total economic impact is multi-millions of dollars into the local community. And people can learn some very, very marketable skills in the Guard. So I think the value to a person to join the Guard and make use of what he learns is just untold value to him and the community alike. Everybody, to a man, is very proud of their organization, and I think that's really the nice thing about the Air Guard. We're at the call of the governor at any time. And basically it starts out with message traffic or a phone call, hey, get ready, here it comes, or something, and we get activated. We have a very short response time. It doesn't take us long to get moving, and we can be out of here. There's always that chance. If something happens, the person could get activated. But, you know, there's no guarantees in life, I guess. If you sign up for it and volunteer for it, that's one of those risks that you have to take. The odds of it, I'd say, were fairly slim. That kind of goes with the territory.
While defense does its job, a multitude of American businesses must do theirs. Rapid delivery of goods, mail, and freight help make it possible. When business prospers, individual consumers see the benefit too. Every day, personal packages, letters, and freight move to and from Fort Wayne, ready for delivery to your front step on time.
Big boxes, little boxes, packages, overnight letters.
We will handle animals, all kinds of exotic animals.
Flowers, candy, shoes, clothes, everything.
Mother's Day, for instance, we just had lots and lots of roses.
Every company, every grocery store, every ice cream parlor.
We have lots of residential deliveries.
A lot of people wait on us on Fridays for their checks. They love us. They do. They wait for us.
One of the busiest seasons for us is Christmas. We have couriers who come in and devote their Christmas morning, knowing that there's Christmas presents out there for the little boys and girls, and they come in and they deliver them, and they'll take them to them Christmas morning.
It makes me feel good to know that I can deliver a child's Christmas package. It makes us happy.
Not so long ago, it took days to get an item from California to Fort Wayne. With aviation, your package arrives tomorrow. Sometimes cargo of a very special nature finds its way into your home. Moving from distant places, the delicate nature of flowers requires immediate transport. Flowers arrive fresh, full of color, and ready to become a special part of someone's life.
Flowers that are picked today are shipped generally Federal Express or Air Express, and they're received into Fort Wayne the following day, and then they go out right away to our customers, our retail customers. The total lifespan of a rose is probably 4 or 5 days. So that shows how important it is that it be shipped in here as quickly as possible. There are some flowers that are more delicate. For instance, an iris has a shorter lifespan. And a carnation and a daisy and a mum are a long-lasting flower that can last several days, sometimes a week or so. But your iris, freesia, there are flowers that are more delicate, stephanotis, that only last a day or two.
The delicacy of flowers is in sharp contrast to another area favorite. Every year, thousands of fans enjoy the action and excitement of professional Fort Wayne Comet hockey.
I'm Al Sims, coach of the Fort Wayne Comets Hockey Club. It shows the strength of a community when they can support a professional sport. I think there's a broad spectrum of people, older people that have been following the Comets for 30 years, 30-odd years, young people. I see a lot of children in the crowd. It's almost like everybody realized the importance of Fort Wayne Comet hockey in the community and has just supported it tremendously. I know when I'm out there behind the bench and the roar of the crowd comes after a goal, it's just deafening. I know it lifts our team tremendously when they're tired or when they're not feeling that up for the game. When they skate on the ice and hear the roar of that crowd, it really helps us win hockey games. I think the most exciting aspect of our sport here is the speed at which the game is played. I don't think there's another sport that players can travel at 30, 40 miles an hour like they do on their skates. I don't think there's another sport where, other than highlight, where an object is being fired in excess of 100 miles per hour at goaltenders. It's just a very fast sport and very exciting.
Playing over 75 games a season, the Comets' schedule takes them as far away as San Diego, California, and Albany, New York.
We do a lot of air travel, and you know, that's all done by air and through Bearfield Airport. The importance of air service to us is we have to get to hockey games by a certain time on our agenda. Sometimes there's one day in between, sometimes there's no days in between, and flight connections have to be done quickly and promptly. We have the benefit of flying right out of Fort Wayne. It is very important for us to get to these places on time. Without good air service, the Comets would probably have a lot of problems reaching their destinations on time. And it's just a very important aspect of professional sports to have air service and dependable air service. And, you know, Bearfield has given us that.
From a Fort Wayne institution like Comet Hockey to other great entertainment, aviation makes it all possible. It brings entertainment and excitement to Northeast Indiana. In its brief history, aviation has become a necessary and beneficial part of the fabric of American life. Aviation history is central to the technological, commercial, and historical developments of the 20th century and beyond. So too in Fort Wayne. Since community leaders began planning Bearfield in 1941, aviation has been central to culture, business, industry, jobs, and services. Whether or not you've ever flown, in one way or another, we all benefit from the availability of air service. I'm Chris Schenkel.
Funding for Coming by Air has been provided by one of the nation's leading insurance and investment management companies, Lincoln National Corporation. Indiana's largest corporation proudly salutes the excellence of Fort Wayne Public Television. And GTE, providers of telecommunication products and services.